Hello, hello. Welcome to the Eddie Conversation Podcast, episode number 30. My name is Eddie Vigil, and I am your host. Today, I am joined by, I always forget the wording there, Michelle Kuei.
Hi, everybody.
Yes.
I'm back.
So you're back. You are my first repeat guest, number 2, second appearance. So thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me. I was recently told that this is a very NPR phrase. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So if you turn on the radio, anytime you listen to NPR, people usually, the guests would start by saying, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think people, it's a safe thing to say, and it feels very professional to say, and it's nice to say. It feels good to say, right? Thanks for having me.
It feels good to say, and I think I wouldn't go anything else besides thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to be here.
No, it doesn't sound good.
Thanks for having me. Okay. With that being said, you are a confidence coach.
Yes.
Yes.
Confidence coach.
While I was setting up, I mentioned. Do you want to talk about the change? Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, so I went from confidence and leadership. I dropped the leadership and I switched completely to confidence because I feel all the leadership, the basic foundation comes from the confidence. If you're confident, if you're a person who is confident, then there's no doubt you're going to go out there and you're going to start leading, right? It's a natural thing for someone who's confident to just set and live that potential and living and setting example so that others can follow them. And so a true leader is someone who lead others not to follow, but to lead. And that comes from confidence.
Okay, so you wanted to kind of take the focus away from leadership. Leadership is not what I'm here to teach you. It's the confidence. Everything comes from the confidence. They're not separate things.
They're not separate things.
Okay, great.
And there's a reason for that, because now I'm helping people to, and I have a passion of helping people to bring out their best self so that they can be seen, can be heard, and can be loved. And I think the previous episode, we also talked about this. It's about that desire to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved. Whether it's the love from your boss, the love from your audience, from the people who's watching your film, for example.
Ooh.
That's big.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So it's about being seen, being heard, and being loved. So how do you have all that? Is by addressing the underlying issue of I'm not good enough, I'm not happy enough, I don't have enough. It's that not enoughness that stops us from being confident.
I buy that.
So yeah, that's where I have grown since the last time we spoke.
Okay. And what prompted, what happened, what helped that kind of click? What changed for you to make that switch? Was there a specific thing or a collection of events, or? It's
a collection of events, and I kind of really leaning towards there's nothing that happened just like that, just in a spark of moment, right? It's always a pattern of how we see things, how we view things, and then suddenly it clicked to you, or it happened to you, it happened to me. During the pandemic, I was really into helping people and getting them to have that positive view about life. And when I start doing that, there's signal that shows up and saying, Michelle, I don't want to be the leader. I don't see myself as being the leader. But what I really need is just to be able to get up in the morning, knowing that this is a pandemic and I can still wake up and still do the things that I love to do. I just need that. I don't need to be a leader. And so I start helping people doing that. And I remember I picked up several clients during the pandemic, and they were all coming to me because they were looking for that desire to be loved, to be seen, and to be heard. They find themselves just kind of blend in to the rest of the crowd, and there they are, they're not being noticed. And I'm sure, as a film producer and, you work with actors and actresses who want to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved.
Yeah, no, for sure. That plays heavily into everything that I do. Yeah. Because I mean, yeah, that's for actors especially that you hit the nail on the head with that. Where being an actor, I always talk about how difficult being an actor is because that's kind of like the entire. But until you're on set doing the thing, or until you've been booked on the thing, all you're trying to do is get noticed. Like that's the entire position is see me, like what I do, and then believe what I do, and want me to be in your movie, or whatever the thing is.
And it's really frustrating when you are not making it to the big screen yet, but you're doing all these things. You're so busy trying to get out there. You're doing auditions, right? I have a friend who's actually doing the modeling right now, and then she's been struggling with doing auditions. How do you do an audition and showcase yourself and being presented? You're an actor, so you need to be in front of people in order to absorb that energy. So when that's not happening, they internalize it as I'm not good enough, or I'm not skilled enough, or I'm not, I don't know, popular enough. There's a lot of not enough that's going into that play.
It comes, for sure.
It triggers the fear.
Yeah, because there's the hope that if I do something, if I change something about me, or if I did something differently, then I would have gotten the part, or then whatever. But normally it's outside circumstances and stuff that has nothing to do with you that's the reason you didn't get the part. In this specific scenario, where it's like, well, they're looking for somebody that was closer height to the opposite actor. Or they're looking for somebody with red hair versus your brunette hair, or you don't really know what they're looking for. So it's kind of, it's hard not to attribute it to yourself.
People get really triggered by that. Like, why is it that I don't have a brunette hair, right? Why is it that I have like black hair or brown hair? So instead of responding it in such a way, like accepting things for what is, we change it around, we change the story around and think that it's about me. That we take it very personal. We take it very personal when something is not working out as we plan.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do right now, okay, there's a couple of things. Before we go further with that, I did want to clarify for those watching the podcast on YouTube, the space that we're in right now, I don't know, well, we're already jumping all over the place here, but where are we, Michelle?
We are at the state-of-the-art Matador Performance Center. This is where my journey began. This is where I found my courage. And I think for the longest time, I'm actually getting teary of talking about this. I think for the longest time, I was that someone looking for a place to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved. That was something that I was searching for. And when I finally, and this is where we left off, and also where I left off in the book, is that I didn't talk about the afterwards from the book. What happened afterwards is once I stepped out of my comfort zone and really trying to gather more understanding about who I am, I start to looking for strategy and plans. And that plans involve, first of all, me losing weight. I remember I don't remember if I shared this story or not, but I was driving home one day, and I kept having these dark marks on my stomach, and I couldn't figure out, for the longest time, I couldn't figure out like where it came from. So one day I had this
marks like a bruising?
No, just a black stretching like mark.
Okay.
It's just a mark on my t-shirt.
Okay.
And I couldn't figure out where I got it from. So one day I was wearing a white shirt, and I was driving behind the wheel, and when I parked, right, I noticed there's that mark again. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did it come from? So I sat back into my car, and there it was. My steering wheel was right against my stomach.
It was rubbing against your belly.
And it was rubbing against my belly. And it dawned on me, finally, that I was gaining so much weight that that was a sign. That was my sign that you need to do something about it.
It was the steering wheel.
It was the steering wheel.
That's kind of funny.
It wasn't anything else. It was a steering wheel. And then so, okay, so now I got to do something about it. What do? I can't run. I can't jump. There's very limited amount of physical activity that I could do. So I started with buying an exercise ball. I bought it home from Target, and then I started working on it, and working out on it. And it got me to start thinking about maybe I can go to a gym. And what came up to my mind the moment I think about gym has a lot of people. And you go in, and there's everybody who's working out. And if you look at all these adult-size equipments, they're not for me. Like right now, if I were to stand up, I'm really petite. I'm only probably the height of a 9-year-old.
Okay.
Here, should we stand? Here, we can stand.
All right, I'll stand for you too.
Yeah, see, this is adult size, kid size.
There we go. There we go. See, all right, so you're short.
So I felt really embarrassed by going to the gym, and I don't know how to use these equipment. So I start to look around in my neighborhood and see if there's any private gym, smaller gym, where I won't be seen as much. And so I walked in here. It was actually half the size. And so this place actually it goes way back with me. So it was half the size. I walked in. I was calling the owner of this place, and I said, "Listen, I need help." And I explained to him, my situation and what I look like, and he welcomed me. He took me in, and he said, "If you want, I can train you." And that was the moment, like my biggest life transformative moment, where I felt this is the place where I belong. And it was that sense of belongingness. I came in here, and I started to work out. I was training every week. Even beyond that, I was doing a lot of cardio every day. And he was just very openly embracing and welcoming me.
Right, which is great. That's beautiful.
And he changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll okay. I'm going to pull back a little bit. For those that didn't listen to the first episode and that are not familiar with you, the book that you reference is here before us. It's called Perfectly Normal. You wrote this one last year, 2019, 2020?
2019.
Okay.
It was published 2019.
Okay.
4 months I wrote.
And this one, and then, so you talk about a little bit of that in this book, as far as getting to the gym. Okay, you had the steering wheel moment, and you had that realization there. Did Machu Picchu came later, right? Like you were already working out, and then you were trying to figure out how far you could push it. Was where that next? Okay.
Yep.
Great.
So Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu wouldn't happen if this place didn't happen.
Yeah.
Basically,
But
that's
no,
what I'm saying.
I like it a lot because the gym. Okay. I don't know. We didn't talk about this last time.
No.
I don't think. But like, let's say in college, I helped run. I don't know. I'm gonna do air quotes. I was a part of the university's running club, and I would always try to like get people to show up and stuff. Like whatever. A lot of people wouldn't want to come because it's similar to the gym where it's like, oh, everybody there is already like a pro runner. I can't keep up with it. I'm gonna be judged. And then similar to the guy that runs the gym is like it's very helpful when you have somebody, what I would try to be all the time is like inclusive. We're here. Everybody's got to start somewhere. All that kind of stuff is very good. And then you sought it out too, which is a huge. I don't know how difficult that was for you to start making those calls. Like how was it? How was it even making the call? Do you recall?
It was very uncomfortable. So I'm a big introvert. Like my personality, I think we talked about this last time. I'm a big introvert. So for me to actually get on the phone with someone and calling someone just out of the blue and, hey, I'm looking for a gym. Do you think I can get a tour? That was like a big step for me. So I called around a couple of gyms, and this was the only gym that called me back. And gave me a physical tool and who saw me, how I look physically, and who said to me, I can train you if you want. And I think connection has always been my biggest value that I didn't recognize and I didn't realize that it was. But that moment, what clicked for me was that connection, was that belonging, that sense of belonging. I finally can find a place for myself to exist. I can finally do what I want and actually know that I won't be looked at, I won't be judged, I would actually be embraced in here. And that was, it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me.
And that is where we are right now.
That's where we are right now, Matador Performance Center.
It's very cool. Yeah, thanks for setting this up. It's very nice.
Right?
Okay.
I've always wanted to come back and visit the gym because it was so meaningful to me. Because, as I said, Machu Picchu wouldn't happen if it wasn't for this place.
Yeah. I could imagine the memories that flood back looking at this and seeing where you were at the start of the journey, where you are now. So that'll be fine. Let's jump to one thing that you talked about on episode. Okay, you were on episode 4. Like as mentioned, this is episode 30, so it's been 6 months since we had you. We, as in me.
And the audience.
And the audience. You mentioned that you wanted to write a second book. So what's the update on that? Are you writing? What's going on? I mean, I know what the answer is, but what's going on?
Yeah, I am writing the second book, and the second book is really where I left off from the first book. So the first book, I didn't talk anything about Machu Picchu. I basically consider that as a letter of completion. So once I completed my past life, I'm ready to move forward. So I didn't talk about any of the Machu Picchu experience. So my second book is focusing on the journey to Machu Picchu and also the journey afterwards. So once I came back from Machu Picchu, I see life from a different lens. It's more of a positive, optimistic, inspiring perspective rather than being someone who's always feeling sorry and feeling, playing small all the time. So that's where I'm at, wanting to do on the second book. Now, where is it at? I am procrastinating. I am procrastinating, and I have no shame of admitting that. Sure. And we can talk about your film too, because your film actually, the reason why I was so intrigued by your film was because it talked about life coach.
Yeah.
And when it sparks, why don't you tell us what the name is?
All right, sure. So we're filming this on Easter, what's today's April 6th, April 4th.
Yeah.
2021. The film released April 2nd. So just a couple days ago. So my whole weekend has been the marketing PR stuff, and that's been a whole thing, and I'm tired.
And I'm really proud of you because he doesn't talk much.
Oh, thanks.
Despite the fact that he's on camera and interviewing me, he doesn't talk much. He's a man of few words.
I try, yeah. Okay, so sure.
so life coach. We'll get back to life coach.
So the movie is called "It's What's on the Inside," and that's what it's called. It's about an agoraphobic life coach. So I try to give that weird contrast between the self you present to the world and the self you are to yourself, and internally trying to face. So. That was the basis of the character and the story, and what was your thoughts?
I'd love to watch that because the minute that he was doing live and talking about the film, I watched it the very same night. So on April 2nd, which is the day that it was released, and I watched it because it says life coach, and I think there's a myth about life coach. I actually had a client told me this before, where, well, you're the life coach, right? You have all the answers. And the reality, the truth is, just because you have a title someone called you a coach, someone called you a life coach, doesn't mean that you don't experience the same struggle like everybody else. So, number one, I still procrastinate, and I procrastinate on writing my second book. And reason being, I have all these other things that I'm working on. So, of course, it makes perfect sense why I don't have the energy and I don't feel that it's a priority to work on the second book. Do I want to have a second book? Yeah, absolutely. I want to have it out next year. But in the moment, it is in a procrastinating status.
Yeah.
So the fact that, having the word life coach doesn't mean anything. We're just human beings. And in the film, I think you portray that really well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I mean, it was important to me, because I felt the same way about what's the word? Like, when somebody thinks about life coach, I don't know, because I've been, of course, in the process of making the movie for, it feels like forever, but for me, it was important to show that somebody who's dealing with a lot of stuff in their own lives could still make an impact on somebody else when they're trying to, people who need help themselves are still capable of helping others, whether they are realizing it or not. Or I just find that kind of interesting that, I don't know, there's something there. I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. But
I think what really stood out for me is that it really doesn't matter who you are. Well, it matters who you are. You matter. Your core matters. But what's really interesting, going back to the leadership, right? So every single one of us can be a life coach. You are the expert of your own life. And when we interact with each other, there's elements of who you are impacting and influencing the way that I think. Like right now, we're having a conversation, but the impact afterwards, you left something in me that I'm going to walk away with.
Some sort of imprint, yeah.
Yeah. So, and every single person that we meet every single day, I would hope that they consider themselves as their own life coach, because there's a higher coach, like right now sitting inside you and I, who's guiding us through all this life journey. So I'm really curious, where'd you came up with that idea of having a life coach?
I guess, it kind of comes down to, I wrote it specifically with the intent, of course, I was writing it for me to make the movie, so I knew kind of what constraints I was playing with, and the limitations of a location. And this was pre-COVID too. If you watch it now, it almost looks like it takes place during COVID with the Zoom consultation she's on and stuff. And it's not really, I was just she was Skyping at the time, back in the day when you would Skype people. But no, for me, it was, it started with, I need a character who I had a kind of a bullet point list of fears and kind of the constraints that keep her in the apartment. And her fears of going outside, all the anxiety she's dealing with. And then to pile on top of that, I'm I want to give her an occupation that one wouldn't expect somebody with those bullets to be working. And it's all right, well, the opposite end of that, one would assume, is a life coach, has her life together, knows exactly what's going on, and can really lead somebody to join them in this heavenly realm of life coach purity of living. So then once you combine the two, you get the actual human form of more of a reality-based scenario. But that was kind of the basis of that, and then it kind of just went from there with all right, who are the clients she's interacting with? How does the human interaction she does deal with her landlord and the mail guy, and then everybody has the imprint to kind of help her on her journey. And it's not really a one, kind of like what you said too, it's not, you said it at one point, it's not, I didn't want it to be a one thing fixes all kind of story where it's she found a guy that likes her, now she's perfect, that's the cure. it's a little bit more of like a slow baby steps and everything kind of adds up kind of story. Which
And it's a perfect example of a myth about life coach. So you wrote the script based on the impression that she probably a life coach probably had their life figured out, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be a coach. But the reality is none of us, none of the coach that's out there have the answer to everything. And if someone tells you that they have the answer to everything, that's not true. So I hope
run
you
away,
don't.
run
Yeah,
away
run
quick.
away, run away. Because I still experience stress. I still experience anxiety.
What?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
I'm pulling my hair out on things. So so there's no one perfect world. There's no one perfect solution.
Yeah. No, I thank you for saying that. It makes me happy that
You did a great job.
That you like it and it's good.
I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. And I hope you guys go watch it because
Check it out.
yeah. What's it called again?
It's what's on the inside.
It's what's on the inside.
Yeah, it's the old yeah, for me it was like a multiple I was trying to find the title for a long time, and that title kind of came to me as creativity does. Like, stuff just hits your head at random times. You're like, oh, I think I got it.
When is your most creative moment?
When?
When? Throughout the day?
For me, I don't know. I feel like creativity is similar to like a muscle in a way where if you just practice being creative enough, you can you get a little bit quicker and better at it. So like when I don't think it's like a time of day for me. It's more of the intent. Like if I know, okay, I'm sitting down to be creative, I almost have to just put my mind to it and almost enter like a meditative state of relax. It'll come to you. Just think about stuff that you're trying to solve. And like the brain does this weird shuffle thing and like stuff just clears up. You're like, oh my gosh, I got it. I got something. And then I get to work on that. But until I stop and think and put everything else aside and think about it, so it's more of I have to specifically plan to be creative. Otherwise, it's very difficult to come. Like I just have to set everything else down.
That's very interesting because I think a lot of people are struggling with the creativity because when they sit down, they're actually stressing themselves out by saying, I have to be creative, I have to do this, I have to spend more time, working on this. And when you do that, you're kind of in your head, in your mind, doing all the plotting, doing all the planning. And creativity has a lot to do with being intuitive. And your intuition doesn't come to you when you're doing a lot of thinking. Your intuition comes to you because your mind is quiet, because there's no other noises that's going on inside of you or around you, and that you're able to really, truly go inward, what's inside, rather than listening what is on the outside. So it's really interesting how you sit down, you actually have to plan for it.
Yeah, like I kind of, or maybe it's like something I've developed over time where, again, coming back to confidence, where I'm confident enough that if I just sit and think long enough, something will come into my brain. And then just that it's worked enough over time, I'm like, all right, let's just sit down and think again and something will come. Don't stress about it. And it normally works. Like, I don't know what it is. So what's your, you mentioned being in a procrastination, a little bit of a procrastination mode. But regardless, when you are looking to,
to create.
Yeah, let's just stay with the creative. What do you do? How does
I'm totally a morning person. I get up like 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I start doing my stuff. And I was actually just teaching a class this morning about this. You manage your energy rather than your time. So a lot of us, we think about, oh, I only have 24 hours a day. I have to sleep for 8 hours. I got this many hours to do this and that. But what we don't realize that it's not the time that you're managing, it's the energy that you're managing, right? So do you feel more awake? Are you a morning person or are you a night owl? If you're a night owl, then chances are you don't want to do a lot of important things. He's nodding his head. I'll bet that he's a night owl.
No, I'm not. I'm a delayed reactor. So I'm processing what you're saying. I'm like, yep, in reference to the energy thing.
Yeah, so I'm more of a morning person. So a lot of my creative stuff happens really early in the morning, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I will wake up and I have this idea and then I have to act on it. Right? I write a lot, so my writing usually happens in the morning.
What happens if you have an idea and you don't act on it?
It disappears, and it goes to someone else. And this is so your idea is infectious or is transferable. So if you don't act on your idea, the idea itself is going to find someone else who's going to take and put that into action. So a lot of time you'll see someone or run into someone. Oh, that was my idea. Yeah, because you didn't act on it.
So it's almost like is there a not to. Is there a fear of missed opportunity? Like, for me, I try not to stress too much about an idea pops in. I'm like, if it's important, it'll come back to me. It's something like I try to think about. So I'm interested. So when you say act on it, because you're going to lose it if you don't, I'm trying to, yeah.
So I think it has a lot to do with personality type. My personality type, and this goes back to like thousands and thousands of years. This is something also new that I grew into. Is using the 5 element personality archetype. So there are basically 5 elements of personality. And this is based on the traditional Chinese doctrines where they talk about the whole entire earth, the universe is created in such a balance. There's the yin, the yang, right? And in between the yin and the yang, there's also 5 elements, the wood, water, earth, metal, fire. So these are the 5 elements that compresses and make harmony in this world. And every single one of us is a unique combination of all 5 personalities. So a water type, which is I'm a water type. I tend to be a thinker. I like to think, finding meaning. I like to look for security. I like to, feel something that's safe, protect myself. And it's all about securing my premises, right? And in that, I'm really deep into finding the purpose. So depending on your personality, I lost my train of thought.
Because I was asking about the fear of losing an idea.
The fear of missing out.
Yeah, FOMO.
Yeah, so it depends on your personality. So if you're someone who's really deep into searching for meaning, having a purpose, having that sense of purpose, having that idea come to my head, if it resonates and sparks my intuition and everything in line that feels like, this is my purpose, I gotta do this. Immediately you jump into taking actions. If you're someone who's looking for fun, someone who's looking for spontaneity, then you might be someone who's like having an idea, let me jump on, act on it. If you're someone who's doing a lot of thinking and you wanted to play safe, making sure that you cover your ground first before you take an action, you will think about it, plan it out, and think about it. If it comes back, great, it comes back, let me try it out. It's a personality thing. That's my bottom line.
Okay. So, all right.
I'm loquacious. Loquacious, that's a new word.
Okay.
Loquacious means talkative.
All right. Okay, so creativity, you said you're more of a morning person, and ideas come to you, and you act on them in that moment to take advantage of that thing that pops into your head. So does that mean when writing a book, you plan for like a specific time frame, and you're like, all right, this is my most creative traditionally.
Yep.
I'll just set this aside, and it's okay.
That's how I plan writing, right? And so when there's other writings that pop into my schedule or my routine, then I'm like, all right, so which one is more important? Which one is more urgent? Then I drop the writing. So I'm procrastinating a little bit, but not too much.
Because I mean, that's kind of the basis of everything, right? Is prioritizing the life, prioritizing what's important and what to focus on. How
that I don't know if you can plan, right? So it's more of what feels more right on the journey. And I see life as a journey, so you can't really plan for what's going to happen next.
But it's still a moment-to-moment thing, though. Like I think about, I don't know where I'm going with it, but I just think about certain people when, okay, let's say if you want to reconnect with somebody and have like a lunch, and then you contact that person and they're like, oh, I'm busy. It's like, well, or like there's like a flexibility with like, all right, it's a high priority for me to reconnect with you. Let's work this out. And then for them, it's like there's
timing, right? Timing is everything.
Okay, there we go. Sure, that's good.
Timing is everything.
It's timing, and it's also maybe
they just don't want to connect with you.
Yeah, maybe.
I can't imagine anybody who don't want to connect with me.
All right, I feel similarly.
Yeah.
About my approaches. Just gotta assume everybody is a big fan.
Well, I think timing is everything, right? Because my timing may be at a different point versus your timing, and if we are in alignment with our timing or with the way that where we are on the journey, then things are going to be a lot more easier. Instead of, hey, can we have lunch? And the person said no, and you feel so defeated or rejected. It just means that the person just doesn't want to have lunch. That's all, right?
Yeah.
It's the end of the story. There's no other story. And this is going back to the confident and imposter, right? So if something doesn't go as we plan, can we take things as is and not creating any story, not write any script behind it? You're a script writer.
Yeah.
You write scripts, and I write books.
Yeah, so with a writing background, it's hard not to. I don't know. I don't know what I'm.
So it comes down to acceptance, right? Can you accept what is?
I feel like I can accept what is, but no,
I was struggling with that before.
Yeah.
I was fighting it because I didn't believe that it was the timing thing. I wanted to make things work for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that stuff, it's everywhere. I'm thinking about like this weekend with the movie release, for instance. It's like, for instance, there's like the whole idea with this kind of grassroots indie release is anybody who's willing to share the movie. It's like, sweet, everything is helpful. I feel like I'm on the freeway side with like anything helps with the cardboard thing. It's like anything helps, share it, like it, subscribe, watch it, rent it,
review it,
rate it, review it, like whatever, like in this kind of scenario, especially being it's my first time going through it, it's like, sweet, Michelle Kuei shared it and jumped on the live. I'm like, oh my gosh, thanks for sending in some questions. I have no idea what I'm doing on here.
It was your first live. You look so nervous. I'm like, you are streaming, and this is something I teach people when they go live. The minute that you go live, there's about 15-second delay. So before you see it on the Facebook or before you see it on the Instagram side. So the minute that you hit live, what you want to do is just count 15 seconds and just relax, welcome everybody, greet your audience, and say, welcome. What are we going to talk about today? And just ease everybody into that first 15 seconds. So instead of, are we live? And this is what you see a lot. People are like fixing their hair.
Oh, okay.
Or
I don't
like,
think I
you know,
did
doing their
that, luckily.
makeup. And it just ease yourself and just be yourself.
Yes.
You've done this so many times.
You threw me off track there a little bit, but with a live, I will recount that really quickly from my perspective too, where we set in our brains, it was a 30-minute time chunk. First time going live, and I've seen plenty of people go live before, and I'm like, I like streamers and stuff. I'm like, all right, cool, I can do that.
Piece of cake.
But then I got into my mind about the 30-minute thing too. I'm like, all right, there's all these questions. I want to get to all these questions. Speed answer. I'm like, no. And then I think you sent some comments in. I don't know what you said specifically, but I'm like, all right, Michelle Kuei commented. I'm getting in my head a little bit, just chillax, relax. And then like the second half of it, way more enjoyable. I'm like, all right, sweet. I'm just like here.
You can do this.
Doing my thing. I mean, I felt comfortable the whole time. It's just there was the jitters in that first half for sure. And you jumping on actually helped me recollect somehow. So yeah.
I think the way that you support your friend is every time they go live, you pop in there. Even if you don't plan to stay very long, go in there and just say hello to them and great to see you, ask them questions. You actually help them to release that anxiety of, is anyone watching me? How am I being seen right now? So you take out a lot of that stress away from them, and you feel you can actually visualize by the way that they're so calm in talking about things.
Yeah. So what I was actually getting to too was going through all of this for me was there could be a tendency where you lean, because lots of people say really nice things throughout the process too, with like, oh my gosh, I checked it out, the trailer looks great, everything looks good, congratulations, like all those messages come in. But then there's like this very small percentage of like, oh my gosh, the YouTube video has 4 dislikes on it. Why did they not like it? Or I post all this stuff, and I'm like, this one specific person that I look up to hasn't liked anything I posted. I posted like 5 things this week, and are they not supportive of me? Like, there's this like weird thing that kind of happens. I felt like I mean, I've been doing this long enough to where I'm like, shake it off. Like that, it's a timing thing. Whatever. The algorithm could be blamed for it too. Maybe they just didn't push it out to everybody. Like, there's so many different things.
Maybe they are watching it. They just didn't take time to comment on it. And here's the thing. And this is a big holdback for a lot of people who's doing that visibility. And this is some part of the PR, right? So if you're someone building that marketing and doing a lot of PR, then what you need to realize is that social media is great. It gives you a lot of publicity. But there's people who like you, and there's people who hate you, and there are those people who just kind of hidden in the side, in the background, and kind of just being there and watching you. Are you being consistent? Are you being true to yourself? So the next time that you put out the work, they're going to see and look at the quality of your work. So if you're being true and you're being authentic, you will show up just being Eddie, and you will show up in your work being Eddie. And people who love you, or those are lurker, right? We call them lurker.
The lurkers.
They're lurkers. They just kind of stay in the background. They're not really like active. So they're lurker. They're watching you because they want you to make sure that what they can trust, place their trust in you. And lo and behold, I bet you, one of those people is going to come out one day and say, Eddie, I love your work. And those are the lurkers. So don't be discouraged just because you have 4 dislikes, right? and the truth is, I would love to hear more criticism than people telling me, oh, congratulations, something that's superficial. Because that's not a good way to help me grow. The only way that I can grow is actually you tell me, oh, Michelle, there's 2 typos in your book, which there is 2 typos in my book.
I'm sure.
Because then it would bring that awareness to me that how can I improve? How can I make myself better? And I think as human beings, we are striving to evolve, to grow. And the only way that we can grow is by understanding where our mistakes were made. And ultimately, they become not the mistakes, but the lessons in life that we learn. So I would hope that people give you and share their authentic, opinions about what the film really truly is and where you can improve. Maybe not openly, but at least reaching out to you and say, hey, Eddie, this is great. I really appreciated it, but here's what I think you can improve.
Yeah, it's all weird. I was going to say, to clarify, I do think the congratulations are very helpful for the algorithm in this perspective. I'm like, anything helps.
It's all part of the marketing and the PR.
Yeah, exactly. We're all slaves to the algorithm gods.
So you can disregard the algorithm. Just do what you do best.
Sure, for sure. Sure. I agree. Yeah, it's both sides at the same time for me. Okay. I thought I had a place to go from there.
So talk about my Machu Picchu trip.
All right.
So my Machu Picchu trip, it was 4 days.
I feel okay. That's where you do talk about Machu Picchu a little bit in the book. A little bit. Yeah, because you talk about, or we talked about on the podcast too with.
The trails.
Yeah, like there's a shortcut trail, and then there's the multi-day camping one, and how you started earlier every day to kind of finish at the same time with everybody else, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, let's talk about Machu Picchu.
Let's talk about Machu Picchu. So Machu Picchu, I think the most memorable moment was the fact that it was the day before I went on to the hike. I was so happy. I checked into Cusco like 5 days early because I wanted to acclimate because they have the high altitude problem. So if you're someone who have lung problems or breathing problem, then they want you to make sure that you acclimate and actually take medication before you go there, because then you would have respiratory issues and things like that. So I went there 5 days just to acclimate myself before I went on to that huge hike. And I was so happy. I was walking around town, had a lot of authentic Peruvian food. I was really enjoying. They have something called cuy, C-U-E-Y, cuy, and what it is essentially it's a guinea pig.
Okay.
So it's a guinea pig.
Nice.
I came home. I told my nephew, "Hey, I ate your pet."
I had guinea pig. It was good.
And they were good. So I was going around enjoying the authentic food and everything. So I came down with a food poisoning.
Right.
The day right before I went on to that hike. So I checked myself into the infirmary, got into the hospital, and on that day I was calling my sister. I said, listen, I came down with food poisoning. I'm in the hospital. And she's like, you need to come home right now. You can't go onto the hike. So it was, in that moment I realized I could have died here.
With the food poisoning? With
the food poisoning and just being out there by myself. And it was the most not fully equipped hospital ever. It's kind of like just having a patient's bed and there's IV pole, very, very ancient, outdated. So I was laying in the bed and I'm thinking I could die here, and why did I do this? So there's that moment of doubt. Or maybe I need to go home. Maybe I should call it off.
Yeah, I shouldn't be here right now. This is a mistake. Those thoughts.
They were real.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So, but then I realized that I made it this far. And for me to go back, that's more embarrassing than just being here. So I didn't want to come back home and feel embarrassed.
Because that's the two kinds of death, right? It's the death by embarrassment or literal food poisoning and bad and physical elements kind of death. Yeah. And the embarrassment was stronger.
Coming back home and not going through the hike was much more stronger than.
And that's like an internal thing too. Like that's for yourself to live with that you didn't finish through. That's tough.
It's pretty much at that point either I give up or I just suck it up and finish the 4-day.
Yeah. And
so I sucked it up and did the 4-day. And it really hurt my wrist because it was a lot of push-up. And at that time, every time I walk far, anything that's long distance, I still use 2 crutches because this way I'm not just leaning on one because it's creating a lot of stress on my shoulder. And as I'm aging.
We all
I know,
are.
surprisingly.
We all are.
As I'm aging, it put a lot of stress on my shoulder. So anytime I have to walk far, I still use 2 crutches. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was just doing a lot of push-ups, and my wrist really hurt. It was to the point where I want to chop them off and just say, you know what, I'm done.
You're just gonna go with the
done.
nubs?
Huh?
So you're gonna go with you're gonna chop off your hands?
Chop off my hands.
And so you don't have to do push-ups anymore?
I don't have to do any push-up. I don't need to walk anymore. And people were saying that it's a very spiritual journey. Yes, it was a very spiritual journey, but mine was really a lot of not just spiritual from the outside, it was more of a spiritual from the inside.
Yeah.
It was a journey on the inside rather than the outside because every step I was taking, it was like doing a meditation. Okay, Michelle, next step, next step, next step.
I can feel that. I feel that.
So I wasn't truly enjoying, the scenery. At some point when I stop and look around, yes, it was really, really beautiful. And I really enjoyed the environment. But in that moment when I was walking, and sometimes I have to walk like 8 hours to 10 hours long per day, in that moment, all I could think about is, okay, next step, and next step. And I remember I hired someone to walk with me just in case I fall off or they need to find
in case
somehow.
You fall off.
Yeah, fall off to the cliff.
Dang.
I really went prepared, and this is part of my planning too. So I hired someone to walk with me just to keep an eye out for me and just to make sure that I'm not going through any danger. And I kept asking him, how far are we? How far are we? And
Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? Yes, I keep asking, are we there yet? And he said, no, just 200 more, 200 more.
Okay.
I'm like, 200 yards, 200 feet, 200 steps? What is it? And so I keep asking, how far are we? How far are we? Because I was really, really just kind of pushing myself over it. Yeah. It was not easy. I don't remember how I did it.
No,
It was cold, it's cold at night. So I had to bundle up and it was just, I don't know. I don't remember exactly how I pull myself through it. And I think this is one of the things about, all the struggle that we all go through, is that in that moment you feel that this is the end of the world, this is the struggle, this is the challenge, right? I would never be able to make it. But then,
been there, yeah.
Right? But then, when you have gone through that journey, and when you come out to the other side of the tunnel, you're looking back. You don't remember what it was like, and that's how short-term memory that we have. You don't remember the struggle anymore. You remember what you're feeling happy about. You remember now that you're here. How did I ever go through that? You were gonna say something.
No, for sure. It's being in a gym makes me think about that. I feel like that's the lowest form of that resistance that we feel is I don't want to go to the gym because it hurts and it's not fun, and you just gotta push through it, and then you feel good at the end of it, and you're I'm glad I went to the gym. I was gonna ask you about I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but are you ready to do something like that again? What's your, no, because like you said, you forget about it, but you kind of don't forget about it because you also remember the torture. Because I've been on torturous endeavors that I signed up for that were much harder than I expected. And then I'm like, I don't need to do that again. I'm good. But what's your...
Funny how you should ask, because the other day I was thinking, oh, I would love to go back to Machu Picchu again.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do it again.
And feel it out and see how the second time is? Like the same kind of route or?
Same route, because I feel like the first time I was missing out the beauty of it. The structures, the ruin, all the historical significance behind Machu Picchu. I wasn't there to fully embrace it because I was dealing with something very emotional, internal, and so I wasn't appreciating what was going on in the outside. And so all these sites, all these beautiful ruins, I didn't really get to see them. I didn't touch them, and I'm such a big person on the structure. When I go to a new place, the first thing I want to visit is the places, and I want to touch them. And I'm like very visual about things. So I would love to go back to Machu Picchu and just to visit and feel what it really like to go through that journey again.
Sorry, I was already imagining scenarios with you in historic sites, like touching things, and like the people coming over like, ma'am, can't touch that.
I've done that. I've done that.
And there's a rope there for a reason. You're just like touching things.
I've done that in the past. I went to New Zealand actually a year. I was visiting my friend, and I went from North New Zealand, traveled down to South, so I did a whole 2-island thing. And this is before the big earthquake in Christstown.
Okay.
And I went through the whole thing, and every place I was on a bus, and I took my mom. I brought my mom with me because at that time I was still holding her hand, because for a long time I didn't want to look like I'm not normal. So I took my mom because she would hold my hand, be my crutch, so I can alleviate some of the balance issue.
Gotcha.
And so I went through that, and I would do sightseeing. Every time I go to a place, I would touch things. And there's a lot of like the old ancient tribe that they have a lot of tribal stuff. So I would go and touch things. I remember this guy came out and he said, "Ma'am, don't touch it."
Ma'am.
There's a lot of statues over there. Yeah, so I do things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's...
And I'm a visual learner, and this is, like, I was telling people the other day, don't talk to me about it's 100 feet, it's 200 feet, because I can't visualize it. I have to actually go through and do it in order to know and understand in my mind what 100 feet means.
Right. It's like the guy telling you, don't worry, it's 200.
Yeah, I can't visualize it. I don't know
like,
what
that's
that
not
means.
Helpful.
It's not helpful.
Yeah. Plus, it kind of sounds like just a gym personal trainer, too, where they just lie to you the whole time. It's like, 2 more reps. Just 2 more. You're like, I just did 2 more. You said 2 more last? 2 more. Like, this is never going to end, is it?
Well, luckily I had a good personal trainer, so he never lied to me.
Okay. I'm all too familiar.
He said 2 more reps, and we're going to do 2 more reps.
Okay.
And I said, you said 2 more reps. I'm done.
Okay, so that's more you. All right. Because I know there's like the classic, who is it? There's like different actors that train for movies and stuff, and the personal trainers will say, we just need like 15 reps here, and then the actor will do like 30 just because they're trying to turn into Wolverine or whatever, you know? So it's like, well, I'm here to...
They're the overachiever.
The overachiever versus like, I'm happy just achieving. That's kind of more where I'm at too. I'm like, I don't really want to try too hard. I'm just happy being here at all. Like, this is already a win. So that's what that sounds like to me.
You're easy to satisfy.
I'm pretty chill.
I'm pretty chill.
Yeah. I try to... I feel like life is a little... it's difficult watching people not be satisfied and how miserable they look. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be like that, so...
So I'm curious, do you have any, like, ambitious goal? Maybe that's a big word. Like, do you have any goals that you want to...
there.
What? what?
It's like, dude, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But all right, so my goal, just made the first movie. The ambitious goal is all the steps to get there, of course, but it's directing a movie for Marvel Studios and that's like the ambitious goal. Is like those are the biggest movies that are released in this world today, and I would love to have put my imprint on that kind of project. So getting on a radar of that kind of scale level thing is.
So what do you need to get there?
Per research of previous directors that have been scooped up from indie world into that big universe, it seems to me, I'm sure it's all random and wild and crazy, and who knows how things work out. But there's the level of getting stuff done yourself for a while in the indie space, where it's like, all right, some of these directors have made some small movies, pushed them out themselves, done different crowdfunding, get them done, like have done whatever it takes, and normally like 2 or 3 movies in, they're in a position to where like, all right, they're ready to level up, and they can have like the stars get bigger in the movies, and then they get better at putting themselves into the movie too, in terms of the tone and what they provide as a director. And the combination of them honing their skills and who they are and developing their craft, and being paired with better people that are also interconnected in a weird way to the bigger universes, because they're also growing too. So everybody's growing the same way, trying to get to the same bigger things. Right. So that's kind of the weird thing, is like just keep making stuff and really hone in on who you are, put it out there, because that's what they're looking for. Is that they have their formula, and they have the universe, and they have their characters, and what they want is somebody to come and put their spice and their little twist on that specific like episode. And all right, come in, do what you do because we like what you do, and let's have some fun.
See, they're the lurkers.
They're the lurkers.
They're
correct.
the lurkers. They're watching you, watching every step that you take to make sure that Eddie actually show up in his film, right? So that's the next big Marvel company who's gonna give you that project. What's your ideal? What's your big Marvel movie?
Oh no, we're not gonna jump to that right now.
Hey, dream big.
I haven't. That's the weird thing, is like I've thought about that, and it's kind of interesting because I wonder, to dodge the question a little bit. Like I think about, let's say, Taika Waititi. I don't know if you're familiar with that director. He came from the indie stuff. He's kind of quirky and wacky, and I love how he presents himself as a filmmaker. And in interviews, he's always super sarcastic and jokey and doesn't take anything too seriously. And I'm like, that guy's awesome. And he's like on all the biggest stuff now. Since his Marvel movie debut, now he's doing like Star Wars, and he's winning Oscars, and like all the eyes are on him now that he put himself out like that. But regardless, I was very curious, and I would love to have Tyke on the podcast. Somebody hook me up. I wonder how he got his jump into Marvel. Like, because he directed a Thor movie, and nothing he'd done before really screams superhero or that kind of stuff. It's kind of just like he has a tone, and he's got a comedic style, and that's what he brought to Thor, and kind of made Thor funny and unique and interesting, gave this colorful world to it and stuff. But like I wondered, was he pitching himself to be scooped up for a Thor movie, or did they have a Thor movie to make and they're like, we want this guy, and then they scooped, and then they reached out to him and like, what would you do with Thor? And then he kind of gets his brain going, comes up with ideas to pitch to them. Or was he already a fan of Thor? Like, I don't know what his scenario is, so I try not to think too much about like, oh my gosh, I want to work with Spider-Man, and or the Hulk, or I don't want. I've resisted. There's something in me that's like, general focus on what I bring to the table, and then what they provide to me, I could be like, I could put my spin on that. But should I get more specific? Is that what you're gonna say?
I think I think the only way that you're going to be seen is you gotta showcase your talent. You gotta showcase what you're good at, right? So there's something about you that makes you magical that only Eddie can do in these films. And the only way that you can get people to notice is, number one, by talking about it. And we're talking about it right now on a podcast, right? So hopefully someone out there who's listening, you're going to know, Lurker, listen up. Lurker, listen up. You're going to know this is what Eddie is about, what Eddie loves. So when you're listening to this podcast, you're going to be curious about, okay, so let me check out Eddie's film. And when they check out your film, do they see you, your personal magic? Do they see how your authenticity shows up? Do they see your value, your integrity, and all that, right? That whole package. And you also pitch. I think this is something that a lot of us, we don't do very often, is that we were taught to stay humble, be humble, play small.
I'm very humble.
I know you are. And in a way, it's really good because it shows that you're humble and you know where you're at. But what it's also doing is you're not letting your magic helping more people. Right? I was really touched by the film that you made about life coach because a lot of people don't realize that the life coach is just a human being, just like you and I. We go through anxiety, stress, everything. So by being humble, we're actually suppressing our talent. We're suppressing our magic. So you go pitch, and I encourage you to pitch. Who do you need to pitch to, right? And what are the steps to get you to pitch that idea that you have? And it goes back to that inspiration, that idea that comes to our head. If it's coming into your head, do something about it. Whether you put it on a piece of paper, I'm going to come back and visit it, or you actually take it into action, but there's a reason why the idea came to you and not anyone else.
Right, yes.
So it's your personal magic.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the...
Go pitch!
I appreciate that. Go pitch at each
Or you can actually reach out to the guy who made the throne.
Yeah. No, all of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. But yeah, that's that. I don't know what to say on that. I'm scared. I was going to your Facebook really quick. I wanted to talk about this is total 180, not 180. You do this thing on Facebook, and I like what you do.
What did I do on Facebook?
No, you're really good at putting out these like random question conversation starter things. So I was gonna pick your brain a little bit on why you ask maybe a specific question and kind of get what you got from the interactions that happen in here. So I'll go to a random one. This one's a nice one. The question is, if you have a magic wand, what would you want to do to make your life easier? What was what response did you get? What did you expect to receive versus what you got, and then what did you want to get?
So I was hoping when I asked that question, because I'm a confidence coach. So I was hoping that it would have something to do with confidence, right? But when I asked that question, surprisingly, what people want to do is very random, mundane things.
With their magic wands.
With their magic wand.
Like what?
What do they want? They want people. They want their house to clean itself.
Okay.
They want not having to do these mundane daily tasks. They want the people that's in their life disappear.
Whoa.
Like mother-in-law. one of my audience say, I want my mother-in-law to stop bothering me. And that's legit, right? Because a lot of us, we have these family members in our life where, we want them to really don't distract us from what we're focusing on. So this is what I have learned from asking these questions. it's not the confidence that people are looking for. It's the things that make them don't feel confident in doing the things that they truly love. So if I have to get up and clean my house, and my house, I'm dreading to clean my house. I don't really want, there's a lot of dishes in my sink. I don't feel like motivated to clean. Is that you?
No.
You have a dishwasher.
No, what I do, I'll interject really quick since you ask. I'm very simple, very easy to please. I do like a meal prep, so when I eat, I just scoop stuff out of the Tupperware or whatever and then warm that up. And when I eat it, I have a dirty bowl, come back to the sink, wash it, put it to dry. Eat again, use that same bowl. Like, I could pretty much live off of like one bowl, one spoon, because I just reuse the same thing and wash it right away. So I don't have an issue of piling dishes.
Yeah.
But
for someone else, it's about cleaning the dishes and washing the laundry.
I can imagine if you have a family or something that piles up quick.
So if you spend a lot of energy cleaning your houses, it's something that you don't want to do, chances are you're not going to be very confident in showing up elsewhere.
Coming back to energy again.
Yeah, because you're spending a lot of energy doing something that you really don't enjoy doing. And here you are, when you're doing something that you're passionate about, you don't have enough energy to do so. Because you have all these everyday distraction that's going on in your life. And that's what I have learned about people. And I love people watching. So that's kind of a way that I people watch on virtual world.
Right.
Yeah. So when I ask those questions, I'm really people watching. And I'm doing my study in my head. I wonder what would be a good topic to talk about.
It's interesting that I guess, well, my expectation would be with the magic wand thing is like, it's usually like money related or like, oh, I wish, boop, a bunch of cash right there or whatever.
Someone said money.
Money or...
Money is big. Money is the foundation. And during the pandemic, I think a lot of people are, stressing about the money because either you got laid off from your job or you don't have a steady income. So there's a lot of money mindset that we're working through. And when you don't have the secure foundation, the number one baby step is to secure your foundation. How do you secure your foundation? You secure your money, right? And I love Dave Ramsey. So those of you who's working on money mindset, highly recommend to look into Dave Ramsey.
On YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah. And he talked about these 7 baby steps. So your first step is to save $1,000 in your bank. That's your base foundation. So anything that could happen, say a car broke down, right? You need to take out some money to fix your car, then you can take it out from that $1,000 saving that you have put away. So save $1,000. And then your next step would be to invest somewhere. And I'm going out of step because I don't exactly remember what the 7 baby step is.
Yeah, you'll go to Dave Ramsey for
You're
that.
going to go to Dave Ramsey, right? But you need to secure that foundation first before you think about growing your wealth, before you think about growing your abundance, before you think about doing personal development. Which is why a lot of time when I take on client, the first question I ask them is, do you have extra resources that you put away to work with someone like this? Because if you don't, then I want you to actually focus on where you can secure that resources before you think about how do I expand on that wealth, before I think about personal development. Because there's other cheaper way of doing the personal development. You can, sign up to free classes, go into workshops, and these mini things that you can do before you actually have that budget to hire someone to work with a coach. So money is the foundation of everything. It's about security. It's about having a roof over your head. Having the basic need is important. Money mindset. Someone brought it up.
Yes. No, money is...
It's huge.
Yeah, definitely. Like in something that I think about is like it determines what I'm able to do from the filmmaker's perspective too. It's like, all right, money dictates
how big your production is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh,
yep.
Work the way up. Yeah, somebody actually wished for COVID. They would wish for COVID to go away. That's kind of nice. That's like a world peace wish right there.
Yeah.
Not many people wish for that.
And so this is what I believe. I don't believe that COVID will go entirely away.
Ooh.
I think we're just going to have a better way
Right.
of dealing with it. So chances are we're probably going to have to revaccinate ourselves. I think Pfizer is actually doing a study about the vaccine, how effective it is. And so far, there's one article that I was reading that the vaccine is good for 6 months. That's from the latest.
Okay. For that, because the specific strains evolve too much over 6 months.
And it'll be just like the flu shots.
Yeah.
We take every year. So
Your
I
COVID,
imagine that we're going to do a COVID shot every 6 months or so. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I could see that. I could see that.
That's the new norm. And our new norm also involve more virtual videos and your publicity on the videos, having more outreach on the video, YouTube, podcasts.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump to another. I don't know. I'll probably do like 3 of these or something. But I wanted to go to this one too. I saw this one. This was just like.
Not too long ago?
This was last week or something. People always say...
Yeah, he doesn't like my posts sometimes. He's one of my lurkers.
You post so much that I like to be specific about it.
I post every day.
I can't like everything. I like to be...
So I bet
I'm part lurker for sure.
Someone like that is on your feed too. They're just checking you out.
I'm sure. So you talked about the light at the end of the tunnel. What do you believe? So people always say light at the end of the tunnel. What do you believe is at the end of the tunnel? So that one, that's kind of, okay. What did people say on that? I didn't look into that one.
People said there's more tunnel.
It's just never ending.
People said it's a never-ending tunnel. And some people said there's a train coming towards you at the end of the tunnel. And so I have a lot of people with good sense of humor.
Yeah.
And so what I believe is that it's a continuation of the tunnel. So there is no end to that tunnel.
Okay, so you're on the never-ending tunnel.
I'm in the never-ending tunnel. So, but you do see the light, and the light that you see is because you have accepted where you are. And you know how when we are in a dark room, in a dark place, when you suddenly walked in, you can't see everything, right? So you're in that darkness, you're in that tunnel. But for some reason, your eyes start to adjust to the environment of which you're at. So you start seeing things. And you start seeing and knowing exactly where it is. Because you're no longer fighting that, oh, I don't want to be in the dark. I don't want to be here. I want to get out of here. I want to hide. I want to run. I want to stay put. You stop doing all that. You accept the fact that you are inside the tunnel. You're in the shadow. You're in the dark. And you believe that if I were to keep walking, it's going to take me somewhere. And it's that inner trust that gives you the ability to continue on that journey, even though you may be in the dark. So is there something at the end of the tunnel? Maybe, but in my lifetime, I don't believe I would see it.
Yeah.
And I don't believe I would ever be on the other side of the tunnel. And people have asked me this before, are you on the other side? And I don't believe I am on the other side. I believe I'm moving towards the other side. And that other sideness could be death, a life after death, a reincarnated world that I don't know. I may be coming back, but I hope I am not. I believe this is it.
Sure.
My life have evolved so much that I don't need to come back anymore next year. Next life.
Next year.
Not next year.
Yeah. Because I was thinking the term is normally used for like when you have a goal in mind, right? Like it's like, oh, for instance, again, coming back to I just released a movie April 2nd. It's like, oh my gosh.
What's it called?
Like,
you gotta tell people what's it called.
It's what's on the inside. Look it up. Amazon Prime Video, Fandango Now, Ubiquity, cable VOD, check your local listings. So the idea of like, let's say me prepping for the release, it's like, oh my gosh, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting so close. It's normally set in the way of, all right, we're aiming toward a goal. We can see the goal now. It's getting closer. I could also think about it used with COVID too, is when stuff was opening back up or the vaccine was released. It's like, all right, I think like we're seeing the light now at least. The tunnel's coming to an end, but then you stay, of course. It's not really going to end. COVID's still going to be around. It turned into like potentially a new flu shot, so the tunnel just keeps extending, and the light is forever there.
I think we're setting up ourselves to have high expectation, and when you set the bar too high, if you don't get to cross it, what it does for you is actually it reminds you the failure that you're experiencing, right? But if you have no bar at all, then there is nothing that you need to cross.
If you have no bar at all.
Like people said,
if you have no expectations.
If you have no expectation and you just take things as is, there is no bar.
Sure.
And things just is.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're enjoying that present moment.
Yes.
You're being present.
Yeah.
You're not setting up any stories or writing any script of how the outcome is going to come out. Then no matter how the outcome is going to be, you're truly enjoying that moment. Because that's exactly where you need to be.
Right. Yes.
So no bar. 0 bar.
But is that like a 0 bar all the time, or 0 bar most of the time? Or what's the percentage of living in which the bar should come back, or how does that work?
I think it's 0 bar, but using your 0 limit. I think Joe Vitale, great guy, he has this book called 0 Limit. So the idea behind 0 limit is that you have infinite amount of ability to do and be who you are using your full potential. And so you have 0 limit in accomplishing your goals. You have 0 limits to achieving, crossing that bar. You have 0 limit to do all the things that you want to do in life. What's stopping you, or what's stopping us, is because of that bar, that invisible bar that we set, they're becoming they are created by our limiting belief, they're created by our assumption, all these things that's happening around us. Those are the things that create that bar for us. So a movie producer, how many films do you need to produce a year in order to get seen? A coach, how many clients do I need to get in order to have that, high 7-figure coach, which you see all the time on social media? Oh, I can get you 7-figure all the time. Yeah, sure. You have 0 limit, and you can do that. So we have all these external beliefs that set up that bar.
Right.
So technically, there is no bar at all time because you are using your full potential, which is the 0 limit. You have no limit.
I like it. 0 bar, 0 limit. Yeah, because I guess I was thinking.
Get that book, Joe Vitale. Look him up on YouTube.
Great.
See, I'm giving away a lot of resources.
No, it's great. It's great. I like it. Yeah, no, because I was thinking about the balance of no expectation, but still an expectation that the future me will be doing stuff that the current me wants to. Like, there's that 5 years down the road, where do you see yourself question that everybody likes to ask, and it's like, I'm just happy with where I am. Like, it's like a weird.
That's a goal. That's a destination that you want to go to, right? So I call those your mile markers.
Sure.
So
but that creates an expectation.
No, it doesn't create an expectation, because when you set up your mile markers, let's say I want to
Write your book.
I want to be able to write my book. I want to be able to publish my book in 2022, January 2022. That's a mile marker for me. When I reach it, how is it going to make me feel, right? My outcome, my expectation, it's typically related to the outcome that I get. I would expect that when I publish this book, I become certain somebody, right? I get something out of this. But if I have zero expectation, I'm just going to write the book and I'm just going to put it out to the universe, not having any expectation of how that outcome is going to be, then there's no sense of failure if, okay, so January comes, I didn't have that book. Oh, well, I guess I need some more time to work on it, right? So it's a mile marker that you achieve, but you have zero expectation of how the outcome is going to look.
I can see it, yeah. I like it.
But it will come out.
But it will get done.
It will get done.
On time.
Yep.
That's the plan. Even, it almost feels like a school project where it's like you cram at the last minute. You're like, wait, it's December. Pump those pages out. Get that thing done, I promised.
Well, again, I can procrastinate or I can plan and I can work around the reason why I'm procrastinating. The reason why I'm procrastinating probably has to do with, I don't know, a number of things. Right now, it's not my priority.
Right, priority.
Yeah, my priority right now is actually speaking engagement. So I'm going to Colombia this year, October.
Colombia.
Yeah.
Not like Columbia University. Like
no, actually south.
Colombia.
Colombia. I'm going to Colombia because there's an event down in Colombia. And I'm one of the speakers going down there. And
nice.
It'll be pretty cool. My first time in Colombia.
Whoa, the events are coming back, huh?
Events are coming back, and there's more virtual event as well. So there's a lot of virtual summit that I have coming up in May, and also one in, I believe it's July.
And this will be your first time in Colombia?
This will be my first time in Colombia.
Nice. That sounds exciting.
Very exciting.
Are you planning on
taking a couple of days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I don't know what there is to do there, but I'm sure there's plenty to do in Colombia.
Yep. There's plenty of things to do.
Okay. Yeah. So, let's talk about, I don't think we dug into this too much last time, but again, life coach, life. I was very curious on, again, to speak to my film, It's What's on the Inside, available now. You reference being a human and having
anxiety,
all the stuff,
internal.
all the stuff that everybody is dealing with still exists in you. How do you manage yourself while also helping cultivate other people? Like, do you have your own life coach on the side, or is it a community, or who do you talk to? What's your thing?
So my thing is, connection is big for me. So I talk to my friends. I'm actually in one of those mastermind group with other coaches. So we would meet every Friday. And we talk about the struggles and talk about the things that we're working on. And typically, if I know that I'm procrastinating, I would bring it to them. I say, oh, so this week I'm working on writing more pages, writing more on my book. And they will hold me accountable. And this is why sometimes a group setting is great for people who's procrastinating, because then you can find your accountability partner, and then you can say to them, I'm working on writing 10 pages this week on my book. And they're going to check in with you, the following week. Okay, so did you write the 10 pages? No. Why? Right? So they would ask me why and what's going on there. So they would coach me around my reason for procrastination, or my reason for not having a good day, or what's bothering me. So I have a coach who coached me, so to make sure that I'm doing and doing the things that I say I would do. So a coach needs a coach, and everyone needs a coach.
Yeah, because how do you feel about being that you're well educated in the field of assisting others and helping people through their life plans and transitions and all that kind of stuff? Do you have how is it assessing yourself when you're going through stuff? Can you go to the group and be like, here's what's going on, guys, I kind of know what it is already, I've already self-diagnosed, Or is it like, please, I haven't thought about it because I'm avoiding it, or I don't know, like.
So typically I'm a verbal processor. So as I'm talking, a lot of time I'm also coaching myself. So when I talk to them, when I talk to my coaches, and I have a community of coaches, when I talk to them, typically I'm processing all these thoughts in my head. And when I say it out loud, sometimes they'll say, wait, but you just said this. What's going on there? And they would bring that awareness back to me and say, oh, yeah, I just said that. What's going on there? So it would create and spark that initial interest of, let me just be curious and explore that myself. What was that all about? And when I start asking myself, what was that all about? I start having answers that I didn't have answers before. And sometimes, I would sit in the session and talk to a client like that. So what was that all about? And I'm like, okay, let me think about that. Yeah, so it's that initial awareness, and I process it, throw it out to them, and they reflect it back to me. And again, the answer is all within us. It's what's inside.
It's what's on the inside, available now.
Say it. Finish saying it. This is the marketing aspect.
for sure. It's just I like saying it as a joke. It's my humbleness. But okay, no, I could see that for sure. That's kind of how I feel sometimes, even just talking with you. I'm like, no, I kind of have a good idea of what's going on, and then I say something. I'm like, but then in my brain, when you call something out or you say something, I'm like, well, I've been avoiding addressing that, and I didn't like you asking that because now I have to dig into that, and I'm like, no, I'm avoiding that. But no, I like that. Sounds about right to me. That's cool.
I think I'm the first life coach on your podcast, huh?
Correct.
Did you knew that you were talking to a life coach on your podcast?
Yeah.
Like when you first invited. Okay.
Yeah. Because I found you through that website, podcast guest, and you refer to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew. Why do you say it like that?
Because it was interesting to me that you just made a film right before the COVID.
Oh, right.
And then we connected, and you invite me to your show, and we connected, and it just seems really. It's like universe has its way of leading you to connect us together. Yeah,
because I mean that's kind of a thing that excited me too. Is I was like, well, I'm like, well, let me talk with a real one. Because of course, like with my research phases and stuff, like I was primarily basing it off of I wasn't even life coach. Because I've had friends that do like family and marriage therapy and that kind of realm, and then of course there's the different YouTube personalities and all the stuff to explore there. So I dabbled in all those kind of phases, but I was like, oh, she's a life coach. And she wants to be on a podcast, and she has an awesome life, and she's cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't bite.
Yeah, but no, I didn't know you were a life coach. I thought you were trying to refer to like, I guess okay. I've kind of since avoided having other life coaches on since I've had you on, just because I'm like, I don't know. I try to mix it up. It's more my thing, in terms of like, all right, I guess
it works for me.
It works for you.
It works for me.
No competition.
No competition.
Because I like to diversify the conversation. It's like, all right, sweet. What's the actor perspective? What's the director perspective? What's the life coach perspective? And diving from there. But
I like that idea. And I thought you have a very unique way of doing your podcast. So you have one on audio, on iTunes and Spotify, and then you have it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you insisted on doing it in person, which was really something that I was really drawn to. And when we connected over the phone, I was like, oh, he wants to do it in person. Great, let's do it in person. And it was during that COVID time. We're like, oh, are you okay with that, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of uncertainty and fears behind it, and yet, we're like, you can tell that connection is our shared values.
It's very important. Well, it's very important. Yeah, the whole podcast has existed post-COVID, so it's always a part of the conversation. Is like, all right, by the way, in person, because the conversation happens a little bit, the interaction, there's a different element in there that I like that is preferable to.
Different dynamic. We call it dynamic. That's the word.
Yeah. Yeah, different dynamic. Because, I describe myself as an extroverted introvert, and I need that human connection. Otherwise, I go a little bit crazy if
Yeah, with that 30-second live video.
30-second live video.
Yeah, because you didn't have anyone to connect with in that initial 30 seconds. And the moment that you are able to connect, you're able to make that connection with somebody. Wow. You guys should go back and watch his video on that 30 minutes premiere day, April 2nd.
Yeah, because it's available on my Facebook. I don't think it stays on like Instagram. Those disappear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can save them.
To your story.
You can save it.
You can save it to your IGTV.
Okay. Yeah, but I chose not to on the Instagrams. But Facebook, we came on later too, which was the other thing. How do we, like, I don't
Too technical.
It was too technical for me, so we just had like 5 devices on at once. All on the table. So I was like looking at this camera, moving around, looking at this, and jumping everywhere. But the laptop had the Facebook one on it, which is one that exists. And that one, I didn't know that there were like procedures to click on. I just thought it was easy. I was all right, hit live, and I was like, oh, I gotta like clarify the microphone and the camera. Hit OK. All right, test it. OK, hit. And that was all happening while the Instagrams were already live.
Yeah. Yeah.
So by the
you should do my 5-day spotlight challenge, because that's what I teach people
how to go live.
Like how to go live, and there's like specific instruction on how to go live.
So I don't want to talk about the instructions, but what is the benefit from your perspective on live? What is?
So the benefit about going live is that people can see your true self. You know how that nervousness, and you're showing up on the camera. And basically, you have nowhere else to hide. Mm-hmm. And it's that fear, the fact that you have nowhere else to hide. Now you gotta say something. You gotta engage people. And that shows people who you are. Because I can do a recording, make it all nice and pretty. We can pre-record, cut out, and doing some editing. Versus something that's going live, you can't do the editing. You can't change how you say something, how you made a mistake by mispronouncing a word. You can't do all that. There's no editing involved. Mm-hmm. So you're giving people their true self. You're showing people who you truly are on the camera and who you are in your life. And so the benefit is that vulnerability, right? Mm. And I think I also talk about on my feed is that vulnerability is your superpower. How do you use your vulnerability? Vulnerability knocks down the wall that you build between you and the person that you want to connect. It also knocks down the wall of how you're being loved. Mm-hmm. Like we all want to share our love. We want to give. It's a natural thing for human being to want to give. To give is more than to receive, right? So we all want to give. How do you give to someone? They open up and they allow you to give to them. So when you create these walls, hiding behind those recorded videos, you're actually not allowing yourself to be loved and to be seen and to be heard.
So there's a little bit of a disconnection there, and the objective is to connect, and live is better for that.
Correct.
Even if you're not really seeing the other people on the other end, at least you're able to present yourself in a more authentic manner. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you for summarizing. I'm loquacious.
It's all good. Yeah, because that's another element that I like about this podcast. I love my podcast, of course.
I love his podcast.
It's when I tell people when I have people on, I have like little bits that I introduce, like, all right, like you can look at the camera if you want, like stuff like that. When I say this is not edited, and I pretty much just put the full conversation up, some people are like, I'm like, okay, I guess like I gotta be on my game now. So I think it's a little bit of that like perk up of the live too, where like, all right, I have to like actually be in it because he's not gonna correct anything or chop stuff out. It's like
It's a lot of work to chop stuff out, and you don't
crazy.
want to do that because then you are cutting out the piece of who you truly are to the audience, and people want to see you. They don't want to see someone who's like all dressing up pretties and having it all put together. That's not what life is about. Life is about the ugly side of who we are, and doesn't have to be pretty.
And by ugly you mean the beautiful side.
Or the part of you that you don't want people to see. Because a lot of us think that the part of us that we don't want people to know and to see is really not the beauty side.
Yeah, this is my good side right here. That's why I sit on this. Just kidding.
Yeah, he insists on sitting on that side.
I don't want them to see this.
He said, no, Michelle, you're on the wrong side. You got to go sit on the other side. Yeah.
I always sit on this side. Okay. Man, all right, cool. There's the clock right there. Mm-hmm. Doing good.
I can't believe we have so much to talk about.
It's great. It's great.
Loquacious. Look up that word.
I will pull up one more. I like to. I was thinking about it on the drive over too. I think about the Facebook stuff as Michelle Kuei-isms.
Yeah, go follow me, Michelle Kuei. I ask important questions or thought-provoking questions.
They're good questions. Sorry, I'm pulling it up. But unless there's anything on your mind right now, I'm just scrolling through. I'm gonna talk about. Already talked about the magic wand. I'm gonna go a little bit further back in time here. All right.
It's okay. Take your time because I can keep everyone entertained.
Do it. How? No. I was very okay. This one was interesting to me. This one right here.
Which one? What does that?
You have your Bitmoji
Anger.
dude.
Yeah.
And this one was almost. I thought this one was a risky post. I didn't react to it, of course.
Lurkers.
But you are asking. I like the way you introduce it. You say, "I absolutely hate olives," and then you say, "Like if you're on my pizza, I'd pick out every single one of them." What about you? What is something you absolutely hate?
I hate olives.
So, okay. The interesting thing for me was. It's gearing the conversation to a negative place. And I thought that was an interesting take on starting a conversation because there's enough negativity on social media, but you're offering a place to vent this out. So what did you get on this one?
Lots of things. So one of the response was hate is a strong word.
Okay.
Right? And it is true. Hate is a strong word. But it's something that we all connected to. There's not a single one of us who we have not used that word once in our lifetime or multiple times.
Sure, we all know the word.
Mm-hmm. And we all can understand what that word means. We connect to it energetically. So the hate is actually a strong word. It tells me about who you are, right? What do you like? What do you dislike? And what do you believe? And what do you think otherwise?
Yeah.
So olive is something that I hate. I truly hate olives. I would really, literally pick out every single olives because I don't like the texture of it. I don't like the taste of it. I think it tastes really bland. And it tastes really weird when you put them on pizza. I mean, pizza, come on, it's pizza. You put pineapple on your pizza, not olives.
Oh. Very controversial statements here, Michelle.
Yeah, so some people would hate the pineapple because they
Correct.
don't believe.
I'm not a fan of pineapple.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm not too big of a fan of olives either, but I will eat it. I won't pick them off. I used to up until I was an adult, and then I got over it. Unlike somebody.
I never got over the olives.
Okay, so...
And that's who I am. So if I can have strong belief about the fact that I hate olives and I'm not afraid to stand up and speak about it, then that is who I am. I'm not going to hide just to please someone.
You're not gonna be at a dinner party eating the pizza with the olives just to please the host.
The host. I'm gonna pick out the olives.
Hopefully in a respectful manner with like, this is just who I am. And then, thank them for the pizza that they, provided.
I appreciate the pizza, but, this is who I am. I'm going to pick out the olives right now. Please excuse me. You're welcome to have my olives if you want.
Yes.
But I am not going to eat olives. And so it comes back to the authenticity and are you being true to yourself? Can you stand up for what you believe in, right? If you really have strong opinion about something, let's hear it.
Yeah, but like what if, let's say, what if we dug into, this is all hypothetically speaking, dug into your hate for olives and went to your childhood and it was actually connected to something else. It's like, well, you don't actually hate the olive, you hated that it was associated to the delivery guy that gave you guys the olives, or like it was bad pizza at the time and it was way old and you try to eat it and that was, or like there was a misunderstanding way early on and for some reason you planted the olives are bad and you've avoided them ever since, but if you gave them a nice try, and these days you're like, well, actually olives aren't that bad.
So it comes down to two things, right? So I can have the knowledge or I can have the awareness that I don't like olive and it's associated to a childhood trauma from olives. That's what you're basically saying.
Yes,
a childhood trauma from the olives.
It happens.
It happens. It does. And somehow in our mind we believe that we don't like olive. We hate olives. That's right. I'm not denying that, right?
Yeah.
That's an initial awareness that I may have trauma from the olives. But what do I want to do about it? I can try it, and I can say, you know what? I hate olives.
I still don't like it.
I still don't like it. I despite the fact that I tried it, and I can stand up and say, I don't like it. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to eat it, period. And that's being true to myself, that I am not going to eat olive, regardless whether or not, I heal from that childhood trauma from olives. I fully embrace that childhood trauma from the olives, but I will not eat it. And that's just me.
Yeah, I think the word hate can be strong, and people have a tendency to apply it to things that that's like, well, I just kind of don't like it. It's like, no, you don't, hate isn't, we want to save that word for stuff like olives.
It's a choice. It's a choice. You can dislike, you can hate something, but the actions that you take behind that hate, that is what determines, and you have the moral standards of the actions that you take, right? There's ethical standards and conduct. What do you do with that hate? Do you choose to act it out, or do you choose to embrace that hate and just say, this is something true to me? And embrace it, right? Accept it and embrace it, and have a different way of exercising out that kindness. And I think this is a really strong word right now because there's a lot of controversy around,
correct.
Right? The hate.
There's
the hate word.
Yeah, and a lot of people. Okay, I'm gonna express some disappointment in the people that commented on your. They took the easy route out. A lot of people stuck with the foods because you started the trend with that. It's kind of on you. This person hates beer. Some people hate pickles. One person went to spiders, which I understand that. That could be a thing.
I hate roaches. Roaches.
Nobody likes roaches. Ugh.
And that's actually childhood trauma for me.
The roach?
So, yeah, for roaches. When I first came to America, I was in New York, and we used to live in this tiny little 1-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartment where my uncle and aunt used to rent. And my mom, my sister, and I, we live in a very small 1-bedroom. And the bedroom involved with a queen-size bed, having a full-size bed in 90-degree angle. And every night, I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would see a wall of roaches, like small, tiny roaches. Ooh. They would just crawl out from somewhere. And every time I turn, I just see them. And I have broke down so many times.
Goosebumps.
Because I was asking myself, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to come to this country. I didn't ask to be here. Why am I even here in this country? I have friends who I grew up with in Taiwan, and I don't want to be in America. Sure. I didn't ask for this. And so it was a huge trauma for me, just waking up in the middle of the night, looking at all the wall of roaches that just kind of manifest.
That's kind of
creepy, right?
It's gross, for sure. Dang.
Yeah, and I remember one of the couple of doors down, there was this old lady. She actually died in her apartment, and we didn't know about it till like days later when we were all walking past the hallway, and we're like, "What is that smell? It's rotten. It's garbage and something." And then lo and behold, someone came in and knocked her door down. You know, the cop came in and they found her dead in her apartment. No one knew about it.
Yeah.
That's New York City.
Sounds like New York City. Not that I know anything about New York City, but I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. But I'm glad nobody went the route of, that would be a weird place to do it for sure, in this thread of like going like racial with it or something.
I had people commenting on the racial things. Back in when the Black Lives Matter that happened, I remember I was posting something about privilege. And the way that I brought it up was, so I was sharing my experience as someone being privileged. I've been privileged all my life here, coming here. I park in the privileged, disabled parking lot. I'm always the first one to get into the line. So I know everything about being privileged. So I wrote a post about being privileged. And what you realize is that when you are privileged, it's a gift that people give you. People don't have to let me into the door first. They gave that to me as a gift. Mm-hmm. So they saw me coming, so I'm going to give you the benefit of convenience to allow you to come through the door. They can easily say, you know, Michelle, you're going to get to the back of the line like everybody else. So to me, a privilege is a gift. It's something that other people exercise their kindness, exercise their compassion. They gave it to you as a gift.
Okay.
And so I remember making a comment about that because there was a lot of discussion, especially on my Facebook feed. People were talking about how there's the white privilege, right? People with white privilege. So that word get thrown a lot around. Mm-hmm. And there are people, my Caucasian friends, my white friends, they're being attacked. They're being attacked for something that they didn't do personally. They're being attacked and they're being shamed.
For having privilege.
For having privilege. And so I was using my personal experience as someone who got that privilege, and to share that with my perspective of that word. What does that word mean? Mm-hmm. And I remember someone had came on, and she was full on attacking how you're gaslighting everything. That's not the point. And the point is, we are all privileged at some point in our lives. Someone else gave us the convenience of doing things. Maybe it's not, getting to the front of the line, mm-hmm. but someone gave you the kindness. They showed you the kindness. They showed you the love. They showed you something that you needed, that you're asking for, and they're willing to give that to you. And that, to me, is privilege. So the fact that we're sitting here, it's a privilege. I did have something that's more deep and detailed racial discussion on my feed, but I don't want to say I'm gaslighting it. my image is someone who's more positive, someone who being seen as a positive, and I don't hold on to any negativity myself. So I don't hold on to the grudges. If I had something that's really bad happening the day before, the next day when I wake up, I start texting them all the happy thoughts.
Yeah.
So I don't ever hold on to something that's very negative for a very long time. So when I post something, I don't want to just be someone who remind people how difficult life is or how much struggle that we have to go through every single day. No, I want to remind people that there's so many beautiful and grateful things that we can look at and remind ourselves that every moment on this planet, it's counting towards something.
Right.
So you get to choose. Do you want to focus on the negative or do you want to focus on the positive? And the more that you engage those positive posts, you'll notice that your Facebook algorithm will change. And I think we talked about this on the social, what's that movie called? The Social Dilemma?
Yeah.
Yeah, back in...
Yeah, you had watched it, right? When we talked about it? Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of people think about social media as something that's very negative. But it's actually brilliant how Facebook and Instagram works, because you'll notice that the moment that you click on something positive, or you click or liking a post that's coming out from a life coach, then suddenly you see a lot of things that appear that has to do with life coach or something that's positive. And that's how the algorithm works. So you can use it to your advantage by engaging more positive posts rather than negative. If you're going to start a conversation that's all about hating people, then guess what? More of that post is going to show up. That person, every time that person posts something, you're going to see that.
Yeah,
so it's all in the behavior.
No, yes, that is how it is. That is how it is. I was going to ask about, I guess being that we're on that topic, I don't know if, again, I don't want to put more attention on it, but one of the big news cycle things is the Stop Asian Hate is big, is in the social sphere of attention right now. Did you have any opinions on all of that's going on, or what your take on it is?
My opinion on that is it's been going on years and years, and as Asian, as Chinese, I know that it exists, and there's no denying of that. Right? Discrimination exists. And it's just a matter of calling it out, speaking up, and I applaud the people who are speaking up. Right? And I applaud the people who really stand up and point it out, that bring it to the light that there's Asian hate. And I don't believe it's just the Asian hate, it's everything. Like all these discrimination that's going on in our world, it's real. We may not be talking about it, but it's there. Coming to America, there's a lot of moments where I'm being treated because I'm being seen as Asian.
You're being seen in a negative light because you're Asian?
So I've been told to go back to your country, or they talk about, I remember back in high school, people would walk up to me and say, "Oh, you know Kung Fu?" Because they look at you, they're like, you're Chinese, so you must be someone who knows Kung Fu, right? But no, I don't.
Because all Chinese know Kung Fu.
Yeah, all the Chinese know Kung Fu, apparently. So here's the thing, I remember posting this on my Facebook too. It's about self-identity. When I came to this country, I had a lot of trouble identifying myself. Exactly, where do I belong? Because when I left Taiwan, I thought I was Taiwanese. But to Taiwanese, my parents, they were Chinese. So they identify me as Chinese, as someone who came from mainland China. But I'm not from mainland China. I was born in Taiwan, which makes me a Taiwanese. But Taiwanese doesn't see me as Taiwanese, they see me as Chinese. Now, when I go to China, people don't see me as Chinese, they see me as Taiwanese. So I'm like in between, I don't know who I am. And then coming to this country, now who am I? I've been called Chinese, I've been called Taiwanese, I've been called Asian American, But in reality, I don't consider myself as Asian American because I wasn't born here. So there's that element of I wasn't born here, so that doesn't make me a Chinese American. It makes me just immigrant. So I start losing that self-identity, exactly who I am, and where do I place myself. So that bigger sense of belongingness, I was looking for it. And when people tell you, go back to your country, all right, I didn't want to come to this country in the first place. Duh. So that was what I was struggling. I was struggling to find my identity in this country. And what finally clicked for me was the moment I got my citizenship paper. I said, I'm American. I am an American, and I was born in Taiwan. And that's how I introduced myself too. I said, I was born in Taiwan, but I'm American. I hold the citizenship paper. I have the passport, which makes me an American. I make American money. I pay tax in America. That makes me an American. And would I stand up and fight for American? Yes, I absolutely would. Would I fight for my people? Yes, I would absolutely would. And that kind of just became my aha moment that I finally have a country where I can belong, I can work. I called it home.
Yeah.
And I think it's that sense of calling it home that was something big and real for me.
That is big, and it's,
so when I go back to Taiwan, people say, "Oh, you're American." Yeah, I am.
And you're like, "Thank you."
Thank you.
Correct. No, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to having that empathy, practicing that empathy, and empathy is that ability to understand and to share what the other person is going through.
Yeah, because I know the issue that comes up too with this kind of like moment is there's the classic advice of like taking the high road that's kind of almost that is what you're talking about too, like is empathizing, understanding. They're saying that because there's stuff going on in their lives and they're projecting onto me, like all that kind of stuff. Like it's not even me they're talking about. They're projecting something else. They're referring to this broad thing that has nothing to do with me. All that kind of stuff. And taking the high road takes a lot of energy too. Where it's like some people just want to fight back and like give a insult back, or like I don't know. There's really a no-win scenario in there. Like the best case I feel is what you're saying too. Is
I think
I don't know.
It's you have a lot of different ways to respond to how people are reacting to you, right? So if people are throwing rocks at you, what do? You have two options. You can run away, you can hide, or you can fight back. Mm-hmm. And all of these actions are appropriate. However that comes up, you're just being your best self. And same thing with the other person who's hating right now. That is their best version right now. That is how they can show up in their best. Because they haven't really gone to that understanding of, oh, I need to question my belief. What is it that I'm believing about this person? What is it that I need to understand about the other culture? How can I understand the other culture more? And so when that person doesn't understand, you can't force them to just shatter their box and shatter their belief all of a sudden and coming out and understand what you're coming through, right? So you're asking that person to see through the same lens and same idea and same attitude as you, and you're expecting that person to act in a certain way out of your own expectation. But in fact, every one of us are on a different journey, and there are some of us, we don't understand something. And when we don't understand something, what do? We can be very defensive. We can attack someone, right? Because they don't understand it. They've never seen it before. This is a whole new idea for them. And there are people like that. And not just about the racial injustice. It's not just about having a different life experience. There are people who have not been exposed to this type of new belief or new way of behaving or new way of living in life.
Yeah, just
It's
ideas,
not their
just
fault.
ideas in general, right?
Yeah, it's not their fault. It's just that they haven't been exposed to it. So understanding, empathy,
And then finding a way to expose them to it.
finding a way to educate them.
Education is important.
Educate them. And this is why you and my work are important. Through your film,
Oh, right,
through your
right.
production, it's what's inside.
It's what's on the inside.
It's what's on the inside.
Streaming now, available Amazon Prime Video. Look at it for it there. Yeah, no, I that is definitely something I keep in mind when I'm creating stories and such. Is I like to present. I mean, like I have an opportunity to present what my normal is, or what people react to, what people don't react to, how people react. So the little worlds and bubble pockets that I create is kind of like, this is how I would like to see the world, or this is how interactions could go. Like, it's kind of fun getting in there, and then that is the interesting part too. Is like, all right, now people are going to see the interaction, and it could be a level of exposure for some people where I didn't know they needed exposure to it, but it's like, this is like, to me, this is how it should be, or whatever the case is. And
I think it comes down to
weird.
haters always gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate, right? So you can give them the piece of education, you can present it to them, and there's an underlying message, right? So I think where over the years when I love movie, by the way, I love films, I watch films.
Yeah.
A lot of time. And so when you reach out to me, I'm like, oh, he's a screenwriter. That's interesting. Let me learn more about him. So I went onto his website and I learned more about Eddie before I actually say yes to this podcast.
Sure.
But like what I love about film is they always teach you something deeper than what's on the surface level.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think on the most part.
For the most part.
I think on the most part, I have not watched any film that doesn't have a deeper meaning behind it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I think that's the whole idea of the work, the type of work, and no matter what field, what industry we're in, the ultimate idea is to raise that consciousness 1% at a time. Hopefully someone who's watching this video is also going to think about all the stuff that we talk, right? Listening to the podcast, they're also going to think about, oh, what are some of the beliefs that I have that would trigger me to use the word hate? And hopefully there's always that underlying message that we're trying to send to people. What do I want to share with the world? So what is your message to the world?
What is my message to the world?
Yeah, if you have your
Dang.
30 minutes time, or 30 seconds, actually, we're going to cut it down to 30 seconds. You only have 30 seconds to pitch to the world. What is the message that you want the world to know?
It's a good question.
I ask good questions.
It's a good question. I don't, on the spot here, it's tough. I'm thinking about, I like to, I don't know, it kind of comes down to some stuff that you've said where it's not necessarily the empathy route, but I am a big fan of empathy. I know for a script I'm writing now, it's kind of maybe what I'm thinking about. It's geared toward the being in the moment, not stressing too much about what you don't have and who, like the wants outweighing what you already have and the unhappiness that comes with that. And I don't know. It's
It comes down. So
I don't know what my message is. If I have 30 seconds.
this is where I can help. I can help you find your message.
Sure.
So it comes down to your values, your personal value. What do you believe in? What?
In terms of what?
So that's it.
We can dig right now. Sure.
All right, yeah. So I love being deep. You know, I'm water type, so I'm all about searching meanings. So that's it. Imagine yourself. You're going away on a journey. Mm-hmm. You're gonna pack 3 things in your suitcase. You can only pack 3 things in your suitcase. Nothing more. Just 3.
Okay.
What would you pack? in your suitcase? You're going to a deserted island. No one's there. What would you pack?
All right, 3 things. Okay, let's think. I don't know if there's a correct answer to this.
No, there's no correct answer, by the way.
Okay, because I'm not too educated on the surviving on a deserted island-ness, so...
The 3 most important things that in your life you want to bring.
Oh, okay. It's tough. I don't have much to begin with.
Your phone, your notebook, your family. What would you pack?
I can bring
in
my
that?
family.
You're gonna pack your family?
No.
No. You can.
Okay, because look, I think about... I'm gonna dodge the question a little bit here. I'm trying to work through it while I speak. But like I think about the move to Los Angeles and the current way that I live my life is very minimally. Like I don't have much at all. I don't rely. I'm going the very independent route. With I worry about myself and I have no one else to take care of. It's just like, all right, survival of myself. And then I try to pack small too. Like my abilities for what I provide to the world aren't really tied to making sure I have specific camera equipment or gear. It's like, no, the important thing that I provide comes from within me and like my ability to see, how I look at things, what I retain in my mind, the ideas that pop in my head. Like that's kind of what comes into me and what I provide for what I do. So then when I think about, all right, I'm going somewhere, I'm like, do I need anything at all? Like I could probably just make it just with me and my body. But so I was thinking of lame things like, well, I want a canteen for water.
So having that
and maybe a pot for some stew. I can make some stew in there. But
that's
regardless,
okay.
Yeah, sure. Drink and eat. Start with a hierarchy of needs there. But yes.
So having that self-identity, having that purpose, that sense of purpose that I can provide is important to you. And those are your values. These are your personal value, that self-identity that I can provide, that compassion will be important to you. What do you want to give to the world? It's about giving, right? So your message
Yes.
is about compassion, and which makes perfect sense why you say empathy earlier, because having that empathy is about giving, it's about sharing, it's about providing. So those are important for you. So your message perhaps is about compassion, kindness, love.
Oh yes, I love it. I like it. That's a good message. No,
There's your message.
I've written.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Because I've written stuff before, and like the actors will read it and then ask me questions about like, is there like some deeper like thing in here in terms of, is there like some drama between them, or is there some like sexual tension there? And I'm like, actually no, like she doesn't think anything of him. He's there for a specific mission, and then he's like, oh, it's just two happy people kind of going through like a thing. And I'm like, yeah, it's just, they're just authentically themselves and going through a little mystery story here, and being kind and being weird and that kind of stuff. But compassion is good.
I'm sure when you dive deeper, when you look into it, go back and read it again.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're gonna spot like the love, the compassion, the empathy coming out from that.
No, 100%. No, that's all in there. I just dug his initial summarization of like, oh, it's just two happy people. And I'm like,
it's just two happy people.
Yeah, that's great. I like it. They're not depressed. Yeah, it's just, it's a good day and miscommunication issues and and then of course there's a nice reveal. It's my short film Oak Milk is what I'm talking about specifically. Oak Milk with a K.
I saw that one too.
Yeah.
That one was pretty interesting.
Oh,
I love the cat scene.
Yeah.
There's a cat scene in there.
Yeah. It's all hinging the young gal has a case of spilt milk and doesn't know how that happened. But there's a nice moment in there that I like a lot where she really doesn't want to blame the cat for doing it and isn't really ready to admit that that's kind of what happened, because then that means that there's some disappointment there. And then he sees that in her and reacts in a way where he lets her off the hook. And they go out and search some more and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, that's so...
Happy cat and girl story.
Exactly.
It's just happy cat and happy girl story.
And
there's that love. There's that love and, compassion.
Exactly.
Coming in from that, she doesn't want to, blame the cat.
It's important. Cats mean a lot to people. And
heck yeah.
Yeah. And
I had a cat.
And I could imagine it being treated a lot like a child, where it's like, you're perfect, there's doing no wrong from you, and then that denial in the head when something does go wrong, it's like, no, it was the wind, right? Like, the wind did that. You're good. Don't worry.
So what also changed since we last spoke was also my cat. So I had a cat, and my cat died on New Year's Day. He died out of cancer. I had him for 17 years. Yeah, I had him back when he was a baby. I adopted him from an animal shelter. I brought him home, and he's been with me the whole entire time. So when he passed away, I didn't realize how much he means to me. And when he passed away on that day, I was kind of lost. I didn't know what to do. And when I came home after the hospital, I was just kind of looking for him. I always had that image of him waiting for me at the door when I come home. And for that whole entire month, I thought I could hear the bell ringing. Every time I walked in, I could hear it. And I actually kept the collar that he wore in the past, and I put it on the teddy bear that I hold. So I would hold the teddy bear at night just so that I can sleep, at least the first week or so.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much he means to me until he was gone. And I'm putting it out to the universe. I'm looking for a cat. I'm looking for another cat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, what was the cat's name?
Buster.
Buster.
Yeah.
Well,
I have a dog's name for a cat.
No, Buster's a cool name.
Buster
the
is
cat.
a dog's name.
No, Buster. These days, dogs have human names, and,
That's true.
And cats have dog names. It's all
good.
And
same.
humans have pet names, and it's all over the place. But
That's
it
true.
sounds like Buster had a nice long life there.
He did.
17 years is a good run.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting, because I know how did you determine that you're, because we're currently in April. You said that was January. And how long did it take until you said that you're ready for another one?
A month and a half. And I kind of saw it as, that love about giving and showing and sharing to someone else. I see it as, now that he's gone, what do I want to do with that love? Do I want to feel hurt and I don't want to have another cat who might die again and leave me behind? Or do I actually want to carry that love and give it to someone else? And I think I'm choosing the second one, second option. I want to give that love to someone else who needs it. And when I look around, I'm also going back to adoption. I don't want to buy a cat. I want to adopt a cat, because cats are like people. Cats are like kids. You look around, there's so many kids in the world who were abandoned, who were unwanted. And what do we do with them? We put them away, right? We put them into a adoption center, or we just give them away. And same thing with cats. There's so many cats in the shelter who needs our love. And instead of buying a cat or buying a pet, why not go to the shelter and adopt? And it's the same love that you're giving to this cat you're gonna take that person home. And it kind of goes to circle back to the fact that, I walked into the gym. It's that sense of belonging. Someone took me in. And I want to, now that I have the ability to give and to love, I want to be the person who's giving the love.
Yeah. To a nice little deserving soul there. That sounds very nice. Cause I think about like my.
You have a dog, right?
I grew up with a dog. His name was Buddy, and I do not remember when he passed away. But it was a big event for the family. It was a big family. It was the only dog that we had growing up and stuff. I think he made it to like 13 or something. He had a good life, and every time I go back home up to Reno, I have to ask my parents. I'm like, all right, so you looking? Is it time? You guys ready for the next one? It's been years now, and just because Buddy was with us for so long, that's why I kind of ask about how'd you know you're ready for my parents, because having a family dog is different, because it's like me and my younger brother were there, and then my dad. It's like a 4-person family caring for a dog that needs a lot of attention. So at least you had 2 young kids growing up with it and all of that. But now that me and my brother are moved out, it's just my parents. They're like, we don't know if we can give the dog the attention. I kind of feel like it's excuses, but calling my parents out. I know eventually I feel like there's going to be, eventually it's going to be like, all right, sweet, there's a new family dog, and I'm excited to be like, I'm really excited because I know there's a lot of love to give there. Mm-hmm. And I'm stoked for when there's...
I think being ready is something that's very personal.
100%.
And it's about your healing journey. So if you're not healed from that hurt, then the departure, right? Then think about that before you do the adoption. Have you already healed from the past, and that you know that you can fully give your love to a new dog, a new kid, or a new relationship? If not, then you're just feeling that you're just hiding that hurt that you already went through.
Right.
And you're just kind of finding a replacement.
It's like a Band-Aid.
A Band-Aid. And eventually, something is going to show up, and suddenly you have to face in that relationship.
Yeah, because you don't want the premature, the premature relationship or the premature pet, because then that's sucky for the dog to be the Band-Aid, because it's just, you don't want to put another soul in that position of, yeah.
So work on ourselves first.
All right, sorry parents, I'm apologizing.
Before we get into the next relationship. And this applies to not just the pet, but also like people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's good advice. I like that. But it is difficult to...
Maybe you'll incorporate that to the next movie. You're going to say, Michelle gave me the idea.
Moving on, yeah. No, that's I'm currently writing 2 movies, actually. One of them has a little element of that, too, where our guy, I think he was left at the altar, or he was engaged to a woman who, I don't know, it has nothing to do with it, actually. I was going to say that they were engaged, and she left him because he didn't have the ambition in life that she wanted him to have. Like, she wanted to marry a doctor, and
he's not a doctor.
And he's not a doctor, and he had no ambitions to do it. So after they broke up, now he has the ambitions. He's working towards saving up for medical school. But they're not even together anymore, and he's kind of like, he's trying to fill the void of like, I messed up with her. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to medical school to kind of win her over in a way, even though he has no intentions of going back to her. That's kind of like the void he's...
It's your motivation.
Unknowingly giving himself, yeah.
Yeah, there's motivation from that initial hurt that we gone through, right? So that hurt, you can take it as, you know what, I'm going to feel sorry for myself, and, I lost her, and spend the rest of your life being a sorry guy, and just, knock yourself out with alcohol and drugs and everything that you can tap away from actually facing it. Mm-hmm. Or you can do it in a more productive way. Well, she wanted me to be a doctor. Let me try it and see what happened, right? And you end up opening up the door to opportunity, and you don't even want to go back to her anymore because you have grown so much, and she probably doesn't want to be going back with you because maybe she found something else on her journey.
Or maybe the doctor thing was just an excuse to get out of it too. Who
Exactly.
knows? Who knows?
And so I think the timing is really important.
Yeah.
It's not that the other person doesn't love us, if the other person doesn't see us. It really comes down to, we're all traveling on a different path. And ultimately, I believe this, that we're just walking each other home. We're just walking
each other home. Whoa, through the tunnel.
Through the tunnel. We're walking with each other.
Okay. I think that's a nice, that's a good, I like that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And my home has a porch light. This is something that I've been having, this vision of me. What do I want to do with my career? What do I want to do with my mission in life? I see myself having this patio in the front and right at the front door, and there's this light that I can turn on for people. Mm-hmm. And people would describe me as someone who has a lot of light, energy, and right? So I imagine myself sitting there on my porch, having my light on, and all I'm doing is just inviting people to have a seat with me. Mm-hmm. Have a conversation with me.
Yeah, nice.
Like Eddie conversation.
Yeah, it'll be your podcast.
My podcast is called Perfectly Normal.
Perfectly Normal podcast on the porch under the light.
Yep. Come to my porch.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very open invitation kind of space. Open arms. Is that the proper terminology?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's who I am too. It feels good to say that, to believe that, to see that. Mm-hmm. It feels everything is in alignment right now.
Yeah.
Because people have been describing me as this light. There's something about my presence that I bring to people. I make them feel comfortable. I make them feel safe. And that's the kind of person I am. Mm-hmm. And that is who I want to be.
Yeah.
Someone who's warm, open arm, welcoming, inviting.
Yeah, you described it earlier too. It's the vulnerableness of letting your guard down for them to be open to with you, back and forth kind of thing.
Yeah, I was sharing on my Facebook the other day. I said I make people cry.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned. Yeah.
I make people cry, and I think it's that vulnerability. Mm-hmm. I make people feel really safe and comfortable, so that when they sit next to me, they have a tendency to open up, like all these emotions and things that they didn't know how to release. Suddenly they have a place to let go and to release, so they feel comfortable.
Yes. And I guess last topic here, I feel like we can close. Well, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But I know, like I mentioned, or we mentioned, you were on episode 4, mm-hmm. And since then, I've had a few people in my life that have been going through transitions, and I noticed that they're only talking to like their mom or family or like someone that their job connected with them. Like everybody kind of has this like a pre-agenda on advice or an open ear, or like even talking to me about it. And I'm like, well, I know who you are and I know what you're doing and I have this preconceptions about you and I have a longer history and like all this stuff. Like, don't talk to me, don't talk to your mom, don't talk to your work. Like, you need somebody else to talk to that's going to be a little bit more, I don't know if the word's objective, but regardless, I brought up your name to a few people on like, reach out to Michelle Kuei and talk to her and see what she like. Just I don't even know how it all works. So I'm like, just contact her, see what happens, because I like it scares me when sometimes people are going through a big thing and they only talk to people who say what they want or talk to people who obviously have an agenda that are trying to dictate a direction for them. And I'm like, get away from that. But I didn't have any luck. I didn't have any luck connecting. Like, I just kind of brought it up whatever. And I don't think they ever attempted it. So how does that work? Because that's a tough bridge to gap.
Mm-hmm. So people don't realize that they need to talk to someone who's more neutral, someone who's outside of their circle, because we're so used to being comfortable with someone and we share our vulnerability, right? But the problem with that is a lot of time if we're friends, you would only say things that I want to hear. Oh, don't worry, he'll come back to you. It's okay. Everyone go through the same thing, and here's what you do. So we're quick in jumping to giving advice. And what happens when you give people advice? You take it, or sometimes you think about it. Yeah, that doesn't really work for me. Or you try it for maybe a week, a month, and suddenly you find yourself going back to that circle again. Oh, we broke up and he doesn't like me. I text him, he's not replying back. So all that is just a vicious cycle, keep going through. And you're not really seeing where you're being stuck. Because your friend, your circle of trust, your tribe, is not telling you what you're not seeing. They're there to support you emotionally. They're there to give you the encouragement, but they're not there to help you to step out of your box. Sometimes we have those individuals, right? They really are honest to ourselves, and they'll share, Michelle, why are you thinking that way? What if you were to think differently? So there are coaches, and among our friends who are able to give us that objective opinions or objective perspective so that we can actually have the ability to choose. So how do you get someone to realize that they need a coach? You can't. They have to be ready for themselves. And so you can't force someone to go get a coach. You can only tell them, hey, I have a coach friend. What did you do? Why don't you talk to her? She might be helpful. Just give it a try. And
which is what I said.
Yeah. And when they tried it and fail other methods, they're going to remember that Eddie has said that there's a life coach that he knows who can help you. And that's the time you start remembering, oh, Eddie, who's that life coach that you were talking about?
Yeah, plant the seed.
Plant the seed.
Yeah.
You can only plant the seed, and it's up to that person to whether to act on it, or maybe some years down the line, they're gonna remember, oh my gosh, it hasn't been working for me. Why is that? They start looking into ways that they can tap out of it, and they're gonna remember.
Yeah.
Eddie knows a life coach.
Ideally, yeah, no, ideally.
Plant the seed.
No, for sure, yeah, because I found that interesting because I pushed. I remember conversations where I plant the seed, and I mentioned that, and then a later conversation 3 months later, I'm having a similar conversation to what it was before, and I'm like, all right, remember I mentioned what you need, I think. Or what would be helpful, or I don't even know if it'd be helpful, but maybe give it a shot. And it's no, there's definitely a lot of fear with that kind of stuff, and it's tough.
And they don't know who Michelle is, so you gotta encourage them.
Which I think is great.
Here is Michelle's page. Go check her out, and you can read her stuff, right? If you trust her, if you like her, it comes down to the trust. If I don't know someone, can I have enough trust to share what I really am struggling to that person? So chances are probably not. It's that fear, right? Yeah. So not only do you want to plant the seed, and this goes for everybody, right? If you have someone in your life and they keep coming to you with the same problem, and you don't want to hear that anymore, you don't want to deal with it anymore, and you really truly believe that coaching can be really beneficial to them, what you wanted to do is you want to refer them to my page so they can connect with me to know more about what is it that I do.
I had her on my podcast. You can watch her and I interact on video, and you know me. So that's a good indicator on all right, she treats him like that, and that's how she I feel like that's a nice, very personable scenario right here. But the pages are good too.
But you never know what the other person is going through. So we're making a lot of assumptions. Well, I connected with Michelle, so I'm sure you know me, so you can trust me and trust her. But we're making that connection. But the other person,
Sure.
they're so busy in their head, they're so busy in their mind, they are not making that connection. So what you can do is you can plant the seed
No,
and
exactly,
give them the
exactly,
resources.
exactly.
Here's the website. Here's the phone number. Give her a call. And some people will act on it, and other people,
Yeah, 100%.
months down the line, they will think about, oh, maybe I can talk to her. So yeah, I do it in very organic and generic way. I don't go and say, hey, I'm a life coach. I'm going to give you a free session. And there's a lot of people who are very engaging, and someone who's very like latching onto you kind of thing, like this is their marketing strategy.
Yeah.
So they're all about, oh, you need help. I think you need help. I think people go through their different stages of life, and at some point, and we can all use a coach, but at some point in your life, you're gonna keep seeing the same struggle or same pattern showing up again and again and again.
Yeah.
And that would be the time when you start thinking about, okay, I wonder what would be possible for me to have a different life, to have a different way of living, to not having a lot of energy against the dishes in my sink.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've even had like, of course, everybody has their strategies for clients. Like I get the random Instagram DMs too, where I'm like, wait, what is this? Like we're looking for young men, entrepreneurial-minded, like you look like you fit the thing, like join our free program. I'm like, what is this? It's not even personally written. I'm like, that's
it doesn't
junk
feel
mail.
authentic.
That's
It doesn't
junk
feel
mail.
true. It doesn't feel real.
And if they knew me, you would authenticity is important.
And I think that's why we connected, because authenticity is also one of my big values.
Yeah.
So I tried that when I first got my certification from the coaching program. And I did that because I didn't know what to do.
Sure. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, so, you send out those it doesn't feel generic, it doesn't feel genuine, it doesn't feel authentic, it doesn't feel real messages, and you send it out, it feels yucky.
Feels yucky.
It felt really yucky, because then you're imagining the person who's on the receiving end. If I were that person, would I want to receive messages like that? Chances are no.
Yeah, you're kind of starting off on this forced foot versus, like you said, the organic growth of
And it's about giving. It's about giving. It's about service. You told me something that you're going through, that you may need help, and here I am. I have that ability to help, so I'm gonna give it to you. And this is where I pour my heart out. And I was talking about this the other day. I think in the past, I think of the way that I give love is I really pour my heart out. I send that person, I buy drinks, I send gifts.
Yeah, she got me the double chocolate chip frappuccino. Thank you.
He chugged it.
That was good.
And so I pour my heart out in giving to people, and I used to think that it's a curse. It's something that I am not getting the reciprocate, and I'm not getting it back, right? But then nowadays, it's that mindset shift. I have that extraordinary gift to give to someone, and I have that ability to serve.
Yeah.
It's a gift. It's a talent. It's my personal magic. So why not use my magic?
No, for sure. I think that was one of the other messages of my movie was trying to flip a flaw into a positive. Where
you should have me in the movie.
You want to act?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Let's see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Cool.
Yeah. I can act.
Can you act? You've acted before?
No.
Line memorization and...
No. I suck at memorizing lines.
It's not a very good pitch.
You're gonna have you're gonna have a big billboard for me.
Your face on the poster.
Yeah,
okay.
the posters. All right, I can act. Here you go.
All right, sweet. No, for sure. I mean, of course, acting 101 is just being authentic.
Yeah.
Be in the moment. of course, say the lines that are scripted, but say them authentically. Yeah, you know, that kind of stuff. It's hard, but it's not that hard.
Acting is not that hard?
It's definitely hard. I'm just trying to simplify it for you that you could probably do it.
I have no doubt I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Let's give people, this is the end. This is the outro. We're done. Where can people find you? Where can people find the book? The social links and stuff.
So the best place to find me is on my website, elevatelifecoaching.org. And on my website, I basically have everything. It's got my social media links and also got the book link. It's under the shop. So if you go to shop, you can order the book. And what I do is I personally sign it and ship it out to you. And if you like to find me on Instagram, I am at Elevate Life Coach. Very simple, very easy to remember. And you can also add me on Facebook under Coach Michelle Kuei.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Perfecto.
Come check me out.
Do it.
Yep.
And
I ask empowered questions.
Yeah, engage on the Facebook.
That's
for
right.
Sure.
Engaging on my I hate the olives post.
Yeah, go back on there and add your food of choice.
Add your food of choice. What's your
Well, my hate thing?
Yeah, your hate thing.
For food, I know there's got to be something. I was gonna say sushi. I don't really hate it. I just accept it. It's not my thing. And I've given it plenty of shots because a lot of people love sushi, and I just don't like it.
You hate it.
I hate it. I was gonna say, what happens? Like pickles. Pickles are gross for sure.
Really?
Ugh. But I feel like there's something I'm not saying that I really hate, but it's not coming to me. But yeah, pickle sushi, it's a good start.
For me, it's olives, and I hate it. What should you call that?
I was going to say, okay, I don't know. It's not, I am a picky, stubborn eater. Like when I was a kid, I had to work my way up from the hamburger patty by itself because I hated the bun and I hated cheese and I hated everything else on it. So I'd have a patty by itself, and then eventually it's like I like the patty with the cheese on it, and then eventually added the bun, and then eventually blah blah blah, and worked my way up to like a full burger now. But like I think about like that's how it was. Is like I through life. That's why I pushed you on the food thing with the olives. Like, well, I hated it as a kid, but then when I tried it as an adult, it's like, it's fine. It's not whatever. But
yeah, you know, there's a word for what you just described, right?
What is
you
it?
have principles. You have principle when it comes to food.
Yes.
I have principle, and my principle is that I hate olives.
What? And we'll go with that. Thanks again for being on.
Thank you.
And hopefully, we'll see. All that good stuff. Cool. Watch the movie. Bye.